Good afternoon. It's Celeste of Astrology by Celeste. Yes, it is. Here on this beautiful Friday. Yeah, it looks wonderful here in Oakland, California. Hi, Sadie is a rock star. Welcome, welcome. And there's 10 of them in skincare. Katrina. Hi, Sobra. Hi, everyone. Hi, Dion. An amazing day. And River C and everyone. Okay, let me see if I can. Let me. Oh, there's Kay. Okay, I invited you, so you should be easily able to join. Yeah, let's see. There you are. Yay!
I did it.
You did it. No time flat. So good to see you.
Good to see you too. Yeah, really great to be here.
Yes, and isn't it nice that Mercury is direct now?
Yes, I'm hoping that will help because the last 3 weeks has been just a little intense.
Very, very, very intense. Yes. So why don't you introduce yourself, Kay, for anyone who's new to you?
Okay, so my name is Kay Taylor. I've been an astrologer, psychic channel, healer, hypnotherapist, psychosynthesis practitioner for 40 years. And before that, I was in the corporate world like Celeste with an MBA in finance. I am the president of OPA, the Organization for Professional Astrology. I'm on the Kepler Board of Directors and Kepler faculty, great astrological college. And I see a lot of clients, I teach a lot of classes, and I love this work.
Yes. What is your absolute favorite thing to teach?
Oh boy. I'd have to say psychosynthesis because it's groundbreaking to teach people this spiritual psychology that is incredibly deep and shows us how to live. It shows us how to become evolved and awakened in a very practical way. And I blend it with hypnotherapy so people go deeper and also psychic awareness. I teach people how to see what the people that they're working with are seeing psychically, even as they're guiding them into this journey. And it changes people's lives because we can use it when we're working with clients, but we can also use it with our family and friends. It changes the way we communicate with people. And yeah, it's very, very powerful. But of course, I also want to say, yeah, and I love teaching astrology because I teach evolutionary astrology from the beginning through transits and progressions. And I do a lot of relationship astrology work. I used to teach with Margaret Gray's relationship astrology group with Rachel Lang and Yvonne Tarnas. So, that's also one of my great loves for teaching is not just how people relate with each other, but also how to shift things. I'm always about the transformation, the healing, like never accept a negative prediction is my thought, or a negative viewpoint of your chart. I hear sometimes people are told that they have a terrible chart. There's no such thing in my mind as a terrible chart. There are some charts that look easier and some charts that look more challenging, but every chart is your blueprint. It's you taking on the transformational challenges and gifts that you wanted to do for this life.
I love that way of looking at a chart. Yeah. There are no bad aspects. And it's the squares and the oppositions that really help us grow. So I love that viewpoint that you have. And yeah, and it's not an empty house, an empty seventh house doesn't mean you'll never get married, blah, blah, blah. You hear all kinds of things that that aren't helpful to people in terms of this healing growth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, I know you and I are really on the same page with all of this, and we're all, helping people identify who they really are and what the next steps are.
Yeah. Yeah. So one thing we wanted to tell people about as well as talk a bit about the astrology, is to talk about the OPA retreat coming up in October.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. So if you know anything about OPA retreats, you know that we have this reputation for small, personal, connected, really enjoyable retreats. I love the big conferences too. And, you know, right now I'm working on to put together the UAC conference for 2026, which is the biggest conference, I think, in the world. I mean, maybe some of the Vedic conferences in India get pretty big also, but you know, usually about 1,500 people for that, which is amazing, but it's not intimate. You know, you can be there for 4 days and never even see the people you're looking for. But with OPA, our conferences are usually 80 to 140 people. We hold them in a nature location so that we can go outside. There's maybe some hiking nearby. And this conference, which is October 16th to the 21st, is in Park City, Utah, which is a major ski place. And in the summer, it's a big hiking place. And we're going to go in October, so kind of the off season with the fall leaves fluttering down. And it's a resort that has, and see, this is what I care about, the hot tubs, the swimming pool, the food.
Pisces mood.
I know. Cancer South Node also, you
Oh.
know, like I'm guilty. So beautiful townhomes and suites with hot tubs on a lot of the balconies, big swimming pool. We've contracted with a really great caterer to have an opening reception and a banquet dinner. And the other thing that's really different about OPA retreats is rather than have day after day of hour-long lectures, which is what most conferences are, we will have one day for everybody to get together and some of the great speakers offering a speech. Sam Reynolds will be there doing our keynote at the dinner. Great track leaders, teachers, and all of the tracks for sure. But after that one opening day, we spend 3 days in a group, an immersion workshop track. And there are 11 track leaders for different astrological subjects. And in a moment, Celeste, you can talk about your moon mastery. But Lynn Bell will be there from France doing family patterns. And I should have a list in front of me of everybody. I'll think of that in a moment. But everybody is going to be there with different topics that you can spend 3 days going deep with an acknowledged leader in that field. And then the OPA certification workshops, we'll be doing some of those in person, which is a real rare opportunity because almost everything we do online now since the pandemic, which I have to say that was a gift to me from the pandemic because I really wanted to have the workshops on Zoom before then because I like teaching that way, and it's way more accessible for a lot of people to be able to do these trainings. And to be certified with OPA, you need to do 3 peer groups, consulting skills, and astronomy. So here at this retreat, you have an opportunity to do some of this in person. I will be leading the 3-day consulting skills training where you learn everything about ethics and boundaries and communication skills and how to create resonance with people and how to go back and forth between a conversation with a client where you're finding out what they really need and what they're there for and giving them the astrology information. And we also do a real deep dive into cross-cultural issues and understand more about our internal biases. So there's a lot of healing that goes in that as well. And then
it's excellent. I can say I took it with you at Kepler College in order to enhance my abilities to help my clients, and it's an excellent program for people to take. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, we've definitely, since we started it, we've had great feedback from people, whether you're a newer astrologer, like you don't have to be an astrologer yet. You can be a student that's thinking about it, and it will help you gain confidence to be able to be an astrologer. But even people who've been astrologers for 20, 30 years have taken it and been amazed at how much they learned and how good they felt after it. There's kind of a healing process that goes on during it. so that everybody gets happier and lighter as the 3 days goes on. And then the peer groups are very small. In peer groups, there's 4 participants and a leader. And the 3 days are broken down into the kinds of challenges that astrologers face in their practice as the first day. The second day is understanding how different people do their astrology. And you explain how you're trained, and then you do a shorter reading in front of people, and people listen, and maybe they give you some constructive feedback. Most often I find people just learn, like, oh, wow, you do that, or you use that
Mhm.
app, or, it's like such a fertilization and sharing. And then the third day is branding and business practices. And that always, you learn so much about what other people are doing. And so that also, we've got 4 of our best peer group leaders who will be there as well. And so it's a lot of possibility of what you can choose, and you can be really sure that it's personal. You'll be taking meals with all of the people, including the faculty. We're all together. There's not sometimes that separation that you get in places where the faculty goes off by themselves and the attendees are by themselves. So it's personal, close, connected, and I think at this point we're all craving that. I mean, we've gotten really good at doing things on Zoom and online, but being with each other, sitting at the table and writing charts down, looking at smartphones. I mean, we've missed being together as a crew of people who have the same love of astrology.
Yeah, it's so wonderful to be in community with people and make connections. And then you meet people, hopefully, it depends where you live,
Mm-hmm.
that live locally to you. So, yeah, like I see Eva was here and we met at ISAR a couple of years ago and done things in person. And we met, Kay, you and I, at NORWAC and do things in person. We live in the same area. So, yeah, there's so much. It's just
Mm-hmm.
wonderful. Or if you live far apart, you can like Zoom later together and keep that connection going. And it's just so wonderful to be able to just talk astrology face to face with people and not necessarily have to do all the translations or use words that are, which
Mm-hmm.
is good practice to use words not using astrology to describe things. But yeah, I know it's going to be an absolute amazing experience, and some just phenomenal astrologers, like you said. Sam Reynolds is teaching, Ann Ortley, Gemini Brett, Christopher Renstrom, Lynn Bell, and more and more and more. I'm trying to think who else.
I'm trying to think. I'm going to open it up right now so that I can
Mhm.
see who's there. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, and for people who are new to Kay, you can just hit the down carrot and follow her. She does amazing things on her channel with, talking about all sorts of wonderful healing practices and techniques. Yeah, Emma says talk astrology without time limits, and Teresa says, yeah, being with your tribe. Yeah, it's
mm-hmm.
just wonderful. And yeah, if anyone has questions about OPA, about the conference, about astrology in general, or want to share anything you're experiencing through this intense eclipse season that had Jupiter, Uranus, and Mercury retrograde, all of it, feel free to write in the comments. Yeah.
Okay, and I want to mention the other track leaders that are going to be there. Magali Morales, who's on the board of OPA, also is going to be there doing some evolutionary astrology. Um, Kira Sutherland, the incredible naturopath, medical astrologer, is coming all the way from Australia for it. Donna Young, Canadian astrologer, who's the president of Kepler, will be there. Moon Zlotnick, who's done a lot of great work and written a book about death charts and how to see how a death affects you, not like when somebody's going to die, but to understand the transformational meaning. And yeah, and then the others are the track leaders: Louise Eddington, Alexander Karakostas, Jeannie Picasso, and Arlen Wise. So it's a great group of people. And somebody's asking if we're looking for volunteers, and yeah, we maybe could use some volunteers. So please, contact me or contact Angelina. Uh, if you know OPA at all, Angelina is the event coordinator who's always putting together our different events, which includes right now we have some peer groups in person. I think I have room for at least one more person in my peer group. I also have a mentorship training for 6 months is beginning to help you if you are more in the professional realm. And those are both starting in May. A couple of the leaders have things going, and our astronomy program we have in August, I believe it starts, and that's really great for understanding why the charts are the way they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Eva, you can email me and I'll put you in touch with Angelina if you're interested in asking about being a volunteer. And Antje from Brooklyn Astrology says she's looking forward to the retreat. Oh, good. Great. It'll be great
Mhm.
to see you there. Yeah. I'm going to be
Yeah.
teaching Moon Mastery for anyone who's interested in learning everything about the moon and her cycles and what it means to work with your natal moon, the transit moon phases, progressions, eclipses, all of this kind of stuff. So that is going to be what I'm teaching.
Yeah. Yeah,
For.
and the groups are small. Like the groups are 6 to 9 people for each teacher. So you're getting really one-on-one work with someone who's an expert in their topic, and be not just looking at the generalities, but diving deep and working with the group members' charts. So that's also a really key component of it. You get to learn the principles, but apply them directly. So the learning is very, very powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And isn't there ability for people to share rooms and things like that if
That's
they?
right. We've worked that out because the townhomes have a couple of bedrooms, and then they've got pull-out couch and a trundle bed and a few little things. So for people who are really budget conscious, we have some abilities to stay in a group townhouse, and they're huge townhouses. I think they're a couple of thousand square feet, and stay and pay much less money per day than a normal hotel. But even the single standalone rooms there with a queen bed are, I think, 150 a night. So it's not nearly as expensive as hotels are these days. The other thing is the rooms, most of them have a kitchenette in them. Certainly the townhouse and the suites have kitchens. And there's a Whole Foods store there. And so it's going to be possible to buy some groceries and snacks and things like that, so you're not having to go to the restaurants all the time, because as we all know, restaurants have become very expensive since the pandemic. So we're doing our best to keep this as affordable as possible, but realizing that we're in a new world in terms of inflation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, so it's going to be wonderful. I hope people who are interested come. It's going to be very intimate and a beautiful environment for learning and sharing and growing. It's called Awakening the Aquarian Age and Learn and Connect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Celebrating the Aquarian shift.
Yes.
So,
And what
yeah.
does that mean to you, Kay, celebrating the Aquarian shift?
Well, we started the Aquarian shift pretty strongly in 2020, right? Because that was when Saturn and Jupiter joined in Aquarius at like half a degree and set a 20-year cycle from 2020 to 2040. But now, over 2 years, Pluto is going back and forth, and by the end of this year is fully in Aquarius until 2044. And meanwhile, we've had very strong Uranus, right? Uranus, the Aquarian planet, has been in Taurus. It just joined on Saturday with Jupiter that expands it. So that's been another, in a way, an Aquarian cycle that launched. It's about a 14-year cycle. Has a lot to do with security, groundedness, the earth itself, our bodies. And what I'm hearing from people is we're all looking for ways to have more life balance. We're all realizing that we need more time with people, we need more time outside, we need to take care of ourselves. It's an intense time on the planet. We can't turn away from that. And yet there's this excitement that's brewing with Aquarius. And Pluto and there'll be a couple of the speakers really talking about Aquarius and Pluto and Aquarius in some depth. But Aquarius, like all signs, has its shadow side, and we've already been exposed right away the minute Pluto went into Aquarius with AI, and the fact that that horse is out of the barn, and we're going to have to deal with the effects of it. And some of them are amazing, some of the possibilities are great, but you know, we also know that we're not prepared for it. We don't quite know how to control it, if we even could possibly control it. So that will be a big subject. But also Aquarius rules astrology, and it rules channeling, it rules awakening and the deepest levels of spirituality. So what do you think, Celeste? What do you think about this Aquarian cycle we're in?
Yeah, I think it is fascinating. And like you said, it's so interesting when the internet was launched, which was very Aquarian. There was so much this excitement about all of the positive potential that it could bring in. And as we've moved forward over the last 20 years, all of these shadow things that have been coming up are so important for us to recognize that we have to deal with them as well. And how do we work with technology on the positives, but keep in mind and be aware of the potential negatives of, like, groupthink? I think is one of the biggest things that I am concerned with this shift, where people are just like that. I know my way of thinking is the right way. And the fact, like, we don't get our news from the same places anymore is concerning, for me as well. And Pluto bringing up all of the muck in order for us to examine it is a big thing. But I think we have this huge opportunity to make shifts and changes for the higher good of people and humanity and groups and societies in different ways. But the choice is ours. Like, you can, everything has, like you said, a shadow and a light. And how can we focus on trying to push towards the lighter things, of more equality and fairness, and using technology for positive things, and yeah, lifting our collective voices. I love how we're seeing all this power to the people energy of people banding together in order to effect change, versus, you know, the governments and the corporations having all this power and just trying to tell us exactly how we need to do what we need to do. And seeing the Jupiter educates, and Uranus, this on college campuses, these it's the same eclipse cycle as Kent State, the same Saros cycle, and seeing how that has just spread across the United States has been really incredible.
Definitely a time for a new revolution. And Pluto in Capricorn since 2008 has been all about the exposure of the corruption of big government and big business and all the big pharma. Look what we've seen over this time. And normally I've seen when Pluto is in a sign, usually in the last 10 degrees, it really does start to rebuild, out of the ashes. But I feel like the corruption has been so extreme in the sign of Capricorn. We are down to the last moment. And the rebuilding looks to me like it's coming out of the Aquarian cycle and not so much out of the Capricorn. We have not had the kind of major changes that I was hoping for. But I do see it all building at the ground level. And this is where the changes are coming from people who want progress and equality. And another one of the shadows that I see, though, is that science and clear thinking is likely to be gaining some popularity and priority, because we've had so many false stories and conspiracies and all sorts of things. You don't know what to think, and of course some conspiracy theories are true, but a lot of them aren't true. And you see the results of that all the time in people's behavior being strongly affected by these beliefs. So what I'm afraid of is that as science gets more power, that there can be this Aquarian groupthink that doesn't allow us to be in the mystical and the spiritual. So it's a hard balance to come into rationality, which is Aquarian, but also not throw the baby out with the bathwater and say, oh, well, now you can't have astrology, and now you can't have psychics, and you can't have healing, or you can't have religion, because none of these things are scientifically backed. And we will grapple with that. And even already, as Pluto's been in Aquarius, we see a lot of very skeptical magazine articles and things like that.
And as Saturn is moving towards Neptune and Pisces, although they don't meet until they get into Aries, yeah, are there going to be controls on mystical and spiritual practices is something that's a little concerning. Have you thought about the fact that they're meeting in Aries rather than Pisces? And
yeah, I mean, they come really close in Pisces. So, I mean, technically, from the perspective of Richard Tarnas, who's this, great, well-known mundane astrologer who's tracked the history of the world since Socrates and Plato, and then tracked the astrology cycles, he holds 10 to 15 degrees between planets as being an orb that shows social events. So it's maybe not an orb that shows our personal events so much, but I also know when I work with individuals that we feel those energies 10 to 15 degrees away. Like even if Pluto is coming to, let's say, a conjunction with your sun, and it's 10 or 15 degrees away, you may not be having a major Pluto sun event, but you're having the Pluto sun thoughts early on, and you're thinking, oh, I should change this, or I'm afraid of that, or this could possibly happen. And then you build slowly into it. So the Saturn and Neptune are already dancing together and will continue through to the end of 2025 when they join together at a degree of Aries. And then again in early 2026, I think they're again, joined at the same degree. My feeling is that this is when things take off. This is when, the mystical Neptune, the creative, the imaginative ideas, the compassion, the intuition, but in the sign of Aries, where there's like something new and pioneering happening, is connected to Saturn. Now, a lot of people think of Saturn as blockages and delays and problems and, end of things, which is true also, but that's not completely what Saturn is. Usually the blockages we have are because we're not grounded and deep enough yet. And there has to be a delay so that what we build, we're building for the long term. It has longevity. It has foundation and groundedness. And so with Saturn coming to Neptune, I feel like we have the potential to ground and stabilize these, radical new philosophies and ideas that take us in the next dimension. And at the same time, while that's going on, Pluto at 1 degree Aquarius is going to be in a trine with Uranus at 1 degree Gemini. And that will also be fantastic for new ideas and transformation and technologies and things moving very fast. I feel like the one thing I can say for sure about the next 20 years is we won't believe what will happen even as it's happening. It makes me think of our grandmothers and great grandmothers who had horses and buggies, and then by the time they were close to leaving this planet, there was the internet and smartphones, right? I mean, we've gone in 100 years, we've gone to this new place that's unimaginable. I feel like we're going to have the same level of growth and expansion in 20 years.
As we did in 100. Yeah. It's going to be hard to recognize. So what is your advice for people? Because change can be so destabilizing, especially when you're moving at such a fast pace. It can be hard to keep up. what kind of tools do you recommend people ground themselves or help
Well,
manage all this change?
grounding. I mean, literally grounding. And basically I feel like that's been the message of Saturn. Since Saturn came into Pisces in March of 2023 last year, right?
Mhm.
March 7th it came in. And that has been the signal to us to become serious, mature, and disciplined in the way we operate with Pisces energy. And the Pisces energy is the transcendent, it's spiritual, it's intuitive, it's the part of us that loves unconditionally and feels ourselves at one with the world. Saturn has come in and said, okay, you've got to take this seriously, because if you don't take this part of yourself seriously, if you don't ground yourself with mysticism and spiritual practice, then you're going to be overwhelmed. You might become sick. Okay, so overwhelmed, sick, mental and emotional illness, tragic losses. These are all also the aspects of Neptune in Pisces. So the Saturn is there as the structural energy to advise us and guide us and be part of our inner flow to live in a spiritually grounded way. And Neptune can also relate to nature. And Taurus, Uranus, Jupiter in Taurus. Taurus is definitely nature. It's definitely the ground. Neptune and Pisces are more the water and just the beauty and that oneness that we can experience when we're in nature. Like when people tell me, like they're not really spiritual or they're not really religious, I'll say, fine, what about nature? Like, how do you feel when you're sitting in a forest or on the beach or looking at the beautiful clouds? Like right now, I look out my window and I see these big white fluffy clouds on a blue sky. If I sit and look at that and breathe and slow down, take slow, deep breaths, I can calm myself from all of the endless transmissions that are coming through the smartphones and the computer and just the endless busyness. And we didn't used to have that. I
Mhm.
mean, most of us can remember when we just had a telephone. Some of us can remember the telephone on the wall and the party line and what a big deal it was when we got voicemail. It's like you used to have to just call people and they might not be home, it's like there's nothing you could do about it. And
Yeah, we
so,
weren't always reachable 24/7. Yes.
no. And we certainly weren't distracted by all this information all the time, right? We used to have a newspaper that came once a day, maybe. And so, this level of endless mental busy work is also part of the Aquarian transmission that we're in right now, because our nervous systems are not designed to handle this level of constant stimulation, and we're going to turn away from it and find balance. And a lot of the younger generation, from what I'm hearing, they're already doing that. They're giving up their smartphones for a dumb phone, I heard just the other
Oh,
day.
really?
Yeah, just a regular old phone. And you see many going off social media now, or taking breaks, or saying, I don't turn on the phone or my computer over the weekend. This kind of discipline with Saturn is
Mhm.
necessary for us to find ourselves. And I'll throw in a plug for the retreat, like go out in nature with a group of astrologers and be connected. Like that's another thing that will help us feel like we're human again, and help us feel that joy of life and not just like endlessly on this electronic treadmill.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. That's so important. I need to add some practices around days off from the phone. Yeah, yeah. I'm getting
Mhm.
better about it, but it's too much. Yeah, it's
It
just too
is.
much. Everything coming in every minute. Hmm.
Mhm. So meditation, um, uh, chanting, uh, breathing practice, pranayama, which comes from traditional yoga spirituality, um, getting together with friends, cooking healthy meals and eating them with people. Like really, in some ways, we have to go back to the basics to find the balance. And this is where the Jupiter Uranus transit has been talking to us for a while. Mm.
Mm. I love that. Yeah, Julia says she has 5 hours of screen time a day. It's bad. Yeah. That's a lot of people have even more than that. So I would say that could be
Mm-hmm.
worse. Yeah. Mm. I love that. Being with people, being with friends, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
socializing and being in groups. Mm. Yeah, being disabled is a challenge for walks, but it's the best medicine. Yeah, so yeah, for people who are disabled, it can be a challenge, but you can still get out, at least get out into nature and breathe it and
Mm-hmm.
that sort of thing. Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Meditation practice,
Hmm.
you know. Yeah.
Yeah, you can create your own inner world wherever you are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
Hmm.
yeah, one of the things about the mind is that the mind cannot discern between what we think about and what's actually happening, right? And you can test that. Like if you think about someone you love dying, you'll probably cry as if they had died. Like your system just reacts to it. And it's the way that athletes, when they're sidelined with an injury, they will keep their body attunement up by visualizing their practice every day. And so we can do that. Like we can, for if for whatever reason, disability, or we're sick for a while, or we're locked up, whatever it is that's happening, we can visualize nature, and our energy system can take it in. It's not as good as the real thing, I would admit, but it will help. Hmm.
Hmm. I love
See
that.
old neighbors, enjoy the pace. Yeah, like slow down, realize, the world doesn't come to an end. I thought that was one of the gifts of COVID, honestly, is that I noticed when I had COVID that I didn't care at all about my work or what I was missing. I was so inundated in the illness itself. And I heard this from many other people that there was like that sort of deep level of turning off that happened
Mm.
during that particular virus. So that was illuminating. And interestingly, the world did not fall apart when I didn't work for a week. It was like
Hmm.
the
Yeah, I
world ran
remember just
on.
crawling into bed and being like, "Oh my God, no choice, no
Hmm.
choice."
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. And when we all had to go in lockdown, I mean, it was horrible in so many ways, but bringing us back into home and slowness and all of that was really helpful for a lot of people
Hmm.
that hadn't experienced, yeah,
Yeah. And
this nonstop busyness that so many of us unfortunately have to deal with. Yeah. Any thoughts? Okay, so next year, this year, this year has been a lot, but next year we have so many shifts. We have the North Node will go into Pisces. We have Saturn going into Aries. We have Uranus going into into Gemini and Neptune going into Aries. So that's a huge shifts. Any other thoughts about things you see coming or ideas percolating?
well, I'm not so much into the mundane astrology as you are, so I'm not really about predicting exactly what will happen with the world. I like to think of it more in like what we'll be doing as individuals. And I already feel that, this is starting to happen, has been building actually for many years now, as more and more younger people are like the generations. There's like more people in every generation who want healing, equality, peace, justice, progress, that I feel like we're almost at the critical mass. And I feel like these changes, especially, the Neptune and Saturn in Aries, and the Pluto Uranus in air signs, aligning up together. I feel like we'll see the ideas that have already been building, and many of these nonprofits and smaller companies that are, doing things in a different way, that will really start to take off. And yeah, we'll have a feeling that we're in a new period of time, that we're not so much in this like kind of endless struggle that really, I think since Pluto went into Capricorn, we've been at the, well, for one thing, the Pluto square Uranus that started as those two planets conjunct in the mid 60s as the emblem of transformation and rebellion, and they've been in square to each other in those years since about 2008 until about 2020. And so we're coming out of that, which has been a testing of the ideas of the 60s. And now it's like those ideas of the 60s, they're building with generations of people carrying it forward, and building like new ways, new ideas. I've been so excited about some of the clients I talk to who are working for nonprofits and businesses that are all about monetary equity and, balancing things out again, communal living at a really high level. Like, these ideas have been around for a long time, but the struggle against the system just taken a long time. And there's something about the place that we are coming into next year that I feel will see the results. We'll be able to feel a little bit more encouraged. And Andre Barbeau, the French astrologer who, predicted the pandemic back in the 80s in a book he wrote, he predicted the pandemic in 2020 and follows cycles for hundreds of years. He has said that the current, kind of world cycle has been in a downstream since 2020, but around 2026, it starts to go up again. And we start with, there's reasons to be positive. And I think the Aries and the air signs, they are action oriented. That shows us that we will have crashed enough of the system that we can see major results. And in people's lives, it's like the nodes, like the North Node in Aries is asking all of us right now to be connected to life force and vitality and what it is we want at the highest levels. And recently has been disposited, ruled by Mars in Pisces. So it wasn't just do what you want, be selfish and horrible, but do what you want that's in alignment with your soul's path, that has that connection to the spiritual and the mystical. And when the nodes then switch into Pisces and Virgo, we get this whole new realm of, the mystical, the service, the devotion. I always say that Pisces is about service, but it's sitting on the mountaintop and meditating for world peace, while, Virgo is, service, but it's out there on the streets helping people who are unhoused, making a difference in a very practical, service oriented way. So we'll have, year and a half of that energy, shifting and moving each one of us personally to a deeper sense of spirit and service.
I love that. Yes. Yeah. And I love, that energy of Pluto and Uranus being in a trine that could be really, really powerful for transformational changes for the betterment of all. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and Laughing Willow is saying the eclipse rocked their world. They're in Aquarius. Yes. And what would you have any eclipse roundup ideas you want to share about the big themes of this eclipse season? I have some thoughts too.
Okay. Well, I'll just start by saying, I've got some pretty strong Aries in my chart, and that eclipse came in on my Sun rising in Venus, and I felt it really strongly. A lot of it is internal for me because it was in my 12th house. And when you're a 12th house person, I know some of you out there listening are probably 12th house people. You know what I'm talking about, because I've got 12th house Sun in Aries and Moon and Mercury conjunct in Pisces. And I have Saturn been going, back and forth over my my Moon Mercury. So for me, the eclipse was deep inside around spiritual purpose. And I've been given some amazing opportunities that I'm working on. I'm back to working on my second book. Like it's a download. Like I put it aside because I'm so busy with OPA and everything else. But I got a really clear message from my spirit guides. It was time to write it. And I went away last week and did a huge amount of structuring and writing the core of it. So for me, the shift is what I'm doing in the world over the next 10 years, and the teaching that I'm doing, the writing that I'm doing, the way that I'm, fine tuning the work that I do. So that's my eclipse story. But I have seen so many new clients recently who are, like every new client seemed to have the eclipse, the Jupiter Uranus conjunction right on something major. Like they were having all of it at once. The people who had never had a reading before and, were so compelled by the level of change happening. What did you find in your chart, Celeste?
Well, my world was rocked by these eclipses because I have Uranus at 5 Libra conjunct my IC. So all of this childhood stuff came up for me. And then my moon, the eclipse was on my 10th house moon, and Jupiter Uranus on my Mercury in the 11th house. So I've been doing all this work and teaching. And at some point, like the stress, Uranus of all the extra work was destabilizing for me. But Mercury retrograde brought out some truths that I needed to face. And so I feel like the whole process, while it was very jarring and it was a lot, that Mars, Neptune, and Pisces really got my mind spinning up some things that were like, I'm so glad Mercury
Uh-huh.
has gone direct. I feel like this morning I woke up and there was this, oh my God. But yeah, I
Oh.
feel like it brought up truths in order for healing and helping, but some of them were really difficult. And I'm this like grounded Taurus who had an eclipse to their moon and is acting out of more emotion than is comfortable for me. And trying to use my tools, but learning lessons about how I should have used them better. But yeah, so for me, it was just so much a lot. And it's teaching me also forgiveness for myself. It's okay. I'm a South Node in Virgo. It's okay to make mistakes and not be perfect. And yeah, being a little Uranian and wild. So that's what I took from it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, a lot of people are afraid of eclipses, and I always say about eclipses move you to your soul's destiny, whether you're ready or not. So
Mhm.
if you're not ready, it can be too much. It can be overwhelming, and you might have to have something ripped away from you before you get the thing you need. But if you're ready, then, it's intense, it's powerful, but you kind of move into that next phase. And I imagine that, with everything you're going through, and you got Saturn at the North Node and
Mhm.
Pisces, so it's a lot of change to move you to your destiny.
And that's what I feel like. It's all in the long term, it's all positive learning and growth and whatnot. But yeah, it's been a lot. And I too have had a lot of new clients coming who are having like big upheavals in their lives, but because they're so activated by these, and they're like, "What is happening?" Yeah,
Yeah,
but
no, it's intense because really for weeks and weeks now, most of the planets have been in Pisces, Aries, and Taurus.
mhm,
And, Pluto was hanging out there by itself in Aquarius, but that's only one sign over from Pisces. And so it's like this focus, right? You think about Katy Perry, right? And she's got that kind of bunched up focus chart where everything's in the first and into the second house in 3 signs, like, here I am, this is what I'm doing. And that's what the transformational energy is doing. It's going, is laser spotlight on an area of our chart, and like the rest is fine, like not going to worry so much about that, but here, this is where you are transforming yourself. Yeah. So Julia is saying 10th, 11th, 12th. Yep, that's where mine is too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm 9th, 10th, 11th. Oh, Teresa has an empty nest and is facing abandonment issues and growing up. That can be so jarring when people's children go off to college or their own places and on all that. Yeah. Yeah. Diana feels us. Yeah. Saying it makes sense. So yeah, it's a good time, I think, for people to do some journaling and for the wrap up of what you've learned over this last like month or two about yourself and other people, and what have you learned for growth, I think is a great thing to think about with these eclipses, especially because it was in Aries. Aries rules the self, the I am of the zodiac. And the South Node in Libra, clearing out, worrying about everyone else a little bit, and people pleasing and all of that. Focus on the other. Yeah, it's been really incredible. Yeah, this has been such an amazing conversation, Kay. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So, do you want to tell?
Inviting me. You can invite me back anytime. I love. There's so much synergy between us. I love it.
Me too. We always have great conversations. So let's talk a little bit more about OPA. Tell people how to find the website, and I don't know if you want to give any gift to people who are new to OPA, if they want to join.
Okay. Well, the first of all, the website is opaastrology.org. My website is ktaylor.com. I don't have like a coupon or anything like that in this moment about like a gift for joining OPA, but I can say that if you email me, I will figure out a way to give you a little joining gift. So,
sorry to put you on the spot.
I know. I'm like, I wasn't ready for this, Celeste.
Sorry.
This is a little too Aries even for me. But
the gift of joining OPA is that you're part of this amazing organization.
It is an amazing organization, and for a small amount of money per year or a little monthly subscription, you get free presentations, lectures at least twice a month, and discounts on things in an incredible quarterly magazine. So yeah, there's lots of benefits from joining OPA, but definitely if they've got any ability to travel in October, that retreat is amazing.
Yes, consider coming and book now because there's a discounted pricing now.
Yeah, we're in the discount. We're still in the early bird pricing.
Yeah, so go to opaastrology.com.
Learn
more about .org. Mercury is just getting going. Sorry. And tell people your website again, Kay, so they can learn.
It's my name, ktaylor.com, KAYTAYLOR. And I have a free community. I have a community that you can join, and I do weekly class that's free in astrology or intuitive development. I do a weekly astrology forecast, a monthly astrology forecast, and there's little groups like a film and book club and all sorts of fun things that I run this by donation, so it's just free to join. And yeah, more about the retreat. Definitely go to the website and look at the retreat. But if you have any questions about it, feel free to message me from my website.
Yes. Right. And Rose, I'm going to post this live here and on YouTube. And we talked all about the retreat at the beginning of the conversation. Yeah. So it'll be available for you to learn more about the retreat. Yeah. Yeah. Eva's saying she loves Kay's community. So many awesome resources. I do too. You're so generous with everything you offer. And so thank you for joining. Sorry to put you on the spot at the last minute. Yeah, my Aries mood. What can I say? Okay.
That's okay. So anyway, I will see you next time.
Yes, we'll do this again soon. Take care, Kay. Thank you so, so much for sharing your wisdom.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.